So residue management, that's one of the keys to renewable farming or regenerative farming, in my opinion. So how do we increase nutrient use efficiency? You know, Clint hit this pretty good. Managing air and water is number one, absolutely number one. And I would say residue management's number two. And then fertilizer timing and placement. So 80-30-190, that's the NP and K in a 180 bushel corn crop in the above ground portion. And there's 4,200 pounds of roots that are not included in that. And along with that, we get 16 pounds of sulfur, 35 pounds of calcium, and 25 of magnesium. That's a lot of nutrients and a good start on growing the next crop. But the key is to get that residue to break down and be in available form for the next crop. And that's where residue management comes in.
Do we have a rough estimate on what that would cost to purchase those nutrients, let's say MAP?
Oh boy, I don't know. Potassium alone, you're looking at $50 an acre there. You're probably 70 to 80 bucks, or no. Nitrogen, you're probably $30 there. Phosphate, $40, $50 there. There's a lot. Yeah, I don't have those numbers right. But you're talking a lot of dollars of fertility right there. This is a picture of one of Dave's customers years ago in northwest Indiana. He was basically a no-tiller, but he would run the airway in the fall and put a residue treatment on, no-till the beans, and then cultivate. And we were wrapping up the day, and he says, "Hey, I have a spot you might be interested in seeing. There's a strip out there where I had point rows, and I didn't want to make a trip down and back, so I didn't run the airway or put the residue treatment on." And you can see the line here. And to the left, you see corn stalks there. And to the right, they're pretty well gone. And if you look at a close-up, look at the difference in the soil tilth there. We got clods on the left and nice crumbly soil on the right. And I've said many times, if you want to hit a home run in soil tilth, do a good job of residue management. And it comes back to what I said earlier. These microbes, it takes a lot of microbes to degrade a 180 bushel corn crop, or even more if you have a higher yield. And one of the byproducts is they secrete polysaccharides that glue individual soil particles together. And that's what creates soil tilth. And if you look closely, you see a little bit of yellow on the edges of the soybean leaves. That's a potassium deficiency, and you don't see it where the residue is decomposed. So a lot of benefits there from rapidly decomposing residue. It's very important for crop residue and also cover crop residue. If we have a carbon to nitrogen ratio of 30 or greater, we have nutrient tie-up. If we have a ratio of 15 to 1 or less, we have release of nutrients in the soil. And for most cover crops, 8 or 9 inches is kind of the turning point. Once they get bigger than that, we have a high carbon to nitrogen ratio, and it's going to tie up your nutrients. So we want to either give it time to break down or terminate those cover crops early, especially if you're growing corn. This is a picture of organic corn from about 4 or 5 years ago up at Shipshewana, Indiana. It was an Amish farmer. And I thought, man, that's good looking corn. I found out later it made 266 bushels per acre. So when I was there, I was asking him, how did you do that? He said, well, I learned a lesson from a couple years ago. I had a sod pasture, and I wanted to keep it as long as possible, so I didn't till it under till the spring, and then I planted, and it turned dry, and the roots couldn't get through all that residue mat, and I just had a disaster. On this crop, I terminated my pasture in August. I put a residue treatment on. I put a 3-way cover crop mix on, and he actually plowed it again in the spring. He said it just plowed like a garden. Here's another example, organic grower at Rockville, Indiana. Did pretty much the same thing, terminated a grazing pasture. He did it the summer before. Still has a cover crop growing over the winter. And this turned out to be 290 bushel per acre organic corn. And here's why that's important. We got to get that residue breaking down to get those nutrients cycled. This is on a dealer's warehouse plot. He's in northeast Iowa at Elgin. He's got a warehouse there, and this is the lawn that he tilled up and did a little experiment. So on the left here, you can see the line. The soil's darker. That had been seeded in alfalfa for 2 years. And to the right, it was sod up until the time of seeding. And on the left, he had a 16-way cover crop mix. Actually on both. And then the pictures to the right show the cover crop that was growing. The picture on the left is in August. The ones on the right are after the cover crop has some size in September. And you can see a huge difference in the size of the cover crop. And where the sod was tilled under 2 years prior, it's much bigger. What's going on there? Well, he took a soil test. So there's the organic matter went from 3.1 to 3.6, where that sod had time to break down and decompose. Phosphorus went from 50 to, looks like 116. Potassium went from 238 to 382. pH leveled out some too. The CEC went from 16.6 to 17.6. So what I'm getting at, it's very important to get our crop residues to break down and cycle those nutrients before we grow the next crop, especially if we want to do it with reduced inputs. So again, residue management, we want to get to that 25% air, 25% water in the soil. You know, we have to have pore space. And if we get a residue to break down, we can add organic matter to it, and that helps create that pore space. The transformer program is something that we've come up with this year. It's based on actually a long history of residue management, and we've seen over the years where we put higher rates of food sources and higher rates of biology on, that it really enhances the results. So what is the transformer program? It's a biological, a live microbial product. We use the bioenergy plus the digester. So we're getting a broad spectrum of organisms. We have active calcium coming in from the TFRCA, so that helps create the pore space in the soil. And then abundant carbon. It can be manure, but the TFRCA has sugar in it coming from molasses and humic acid. So we're putting a very diverse food package and a very diverse microbial package together. One thing we can do is put the transformer program on with manure, either together or separate applications, and that's going to help recycle those nutrients. We'll get more value out of the manure that we put on because we're going to cycle those nutrients quicker too. Yes?
Temperature. How late in the fall can you do this? Fill the corn stalks in the fall. Are you wasting your time because it's too cold to dip? You don't get the corn off at the end of November. You're wasting your time, or should you go ahead and put it on?
Okay, we get that question quite often. How late can you put this on? We don't want to put it on frozen soils. Again, the microbial activity won't be very high at low soil temperatures, but if we can get them out there and established before winter sets in and soils freeze up, I'd say if you have a 2 or 3 day window there just to get the organisms out there while the soil's thawed out, you're probably okay. But on the other hand, we've had a lot of growers that just don't have time in the fall and they put it on in the spring, and that works well too. Typically, we have a better moisture environment in the spring than we do in the fall. Obviously, that varies from year to year, but yeah, if you can get them out there before things freeze up, you should be okay. You're not going to see much activity till it warms up in the spring, but at least that job's done and those organisms are there and they can take off when the environment's right in the spring.
Another question. Can we put it in if we burn down for cover crop? Or will it kill each other?
You can. The only thing, if you're using the TFRCA that has calcium in it, you can't combine it with glyphosate. It will tie up the glyphosate. As far as I know, it's compatible with any other chemistry. If you're wanting to use glyphosate in the fall, we can use a different food source than the TFRCA. So that shouldn't be a hindrance.